Mirrors of history. 3 worlds that could have been ours instead of a prologue. The room with the clocks. Imagine a room. Old, dusty, with tall windows behind which lies not our evening, but the twilight of possibility. On the wall hang 3 clocks. Each has its own face, its own hand, frozen in anticipation. If you were to turn one of them back or forward by just a second, the world as we know it would collapse like a house of cards. Today, we will be not historians, but caretakers of this room. We will gently turn the hands and look into the face of that which might have breathed in our place. 3 crossroads. 3 answers to the question, what if? Chapter 1. The Storm That Never Ceased. Normandy, June 1944. A June morning. The English Channel. The sky is grey, like old steel. Thousands of ships heading for 5 beaches with the code names Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, Sword. On the flagship, Admiral Ramsey clutches a tablet. Private First Class Joe Bridger of the 29th Infantry Division shivers in a landing craft, not from fear, but from the icy water flooding his boots. In the real story, June 6, 1944, became the beginning of the end for the Third Reich. But what if? What if the weather report of German Admiral Karl's had been more accurate than London's? What if the storm that scattered the landing barges at sea lasted not 1 day, but 3? What if Rommel, contrary to history, had not gone to Ulm to celebrate his wife's birthday, but had remained on the coast? There it is, the beginning of another world. The radio wheezes through static. Utah, mines, losses up to 30%. Omaha, continuous fire, tank sinking, infantry hitting the shingle and not getting up. And above all, fresh panzer divisions, the very ones that in our timeline Hitler dared not release from reserve, here, at this hour, are already tearing into the beachhead. By the evening of June 7th, Allied command concedes. Operation Overlord has failed. Losses: over 10,000 dead, 3,000 captured. Churchill smokes cigar after cigar in the bunker on Downing Street, and for the first time his secretary sees the Prime Minister's hand shake. Roosevelt in Washington tells his advisors in a hollow voice, "We'll have to rethink our priorities." Europe: let the Russians take it themselves, and across the ocean, in the quiet towns of the Midwest, mothers receive death notices. And the rumble of protest grows into a roar. Why do we need that old Europe? We've already given our boys. Now watch how the map changes. In the summer of 1944, the Red Army still smashes Army Group Center, but in its path now lie not 300, but 500 kilometers of German fortifications. Because the 45 divisions freed up in the west, mostly armored and motorized, have been redeployed to Warsaw and Königsberg. Stalin, upon learning of the Allies' failure, is not angry. He smirks into his moustache, and he says to Zhukov a phrase that in our world he never uttered: "Now we will go as far as Lisbon." And no one will say a word to us. The year 1946. Berlin has fallen, but it fell at the hands of the First Belarusian Front. The red banner flies not only over the Reichstag, but over the Eiffel Tower. Paris, the city of lovers, the city of freedom, has become a city of Soviet commandant's officers and breadlines with ration cards. London hears radio stations broadcasting from Calais. Workers and peasants of France, your liberation has been accomplished under the banner of Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin. In 1947, the United States drops an atomic bomb not on Hiroshima, but demonstratively on the Bikini Atoll. For Japan, seeing the collapse of Europe, had already surrendered in November 1945 due to blockade and conventional bombing. What have we got? An iron curtain from the Bay of Biscay to Kamchatka. No West Germany, no East Germany. There is a single socialist Germany whose factories work for Moscow. No NATO. There is the Warsaw Pact, which even includes Spain and Portugal, where communists came to power amid the chaos. England, an aircraft carrier without airfields, forever under siege. And the Cold War, won by the Soviet bloc before it even began. Imagine life in this world. You wake up in Lyon, drink chicory, coffee is scarce, go to the factory where the portrait at the entrance is not of Marianne, but of Comrade Stalin. And your son learns in school that World War II was a liberation campaign of the USSR against Anglo-American imperialists who betrayed their allies in 1944. Beautiful? No, but possible. Chapter 2. Steel and Ashes near Kursk, July 1943. Now let us travel back 1 year earlier, to where the earth boiled with explosions and the air rang with engines, to the Kursk Bulge. July the 5th, 1943. At 2:20 a.m., Soviet artillery preparation crashes down on the Wehrmacht's positions. In real history, it somewhat disorganized the Germans. But what if General Model, commander of the Ninth Army, had managed to conceal the true positions of his Tigers and Ferdinands? What if the engineer obstacles prepared by Soviet sappers had failed to withstand the first blow? Imagine the early morning of July 12th, the main day of Prokhorovka. In our world, the 2nd SS Panzer Corps and Rotmistrov's 5th Guards Tank Army clashed in a deadly battle, and the Soviet troops stopped the Germans at the cost of horrific losses. But here it is different. The Tigers break through the defense on the 3rd echelon. The 18th Tank Corps, cut in two, burns in the field. Army Commander Rotmistrov is wounded by shrapnel. At the Voronezh Front headquarters, a Pale Vatutin reports directly to Stalin. The enemy has committed reserves we did not know about. 3 divisions have been pulled from Oral and thrown against our flank. I request permission to withdraw to the line of the Oskol River. A pause. A voice from the Kremlin. Icy. There will be no withdrawal. Stand to the death. I am sending the 1st Guards Artillery Division, but the artillery does not arrive in time. The Germans, as if sensing their only chance, commit their last King Tigers with long-barreled guns. By the end of July 14th, the front has been breached to a depth of 40 kilometers. Kursk and Belgorod fall. About 200,000 Soviet soldiers are encircled. This is not the end of the war, but it is its ugly, protracted rebirth. Now, pay attention. The most terrible twist occurs not on the battlefield, but in the minds of politicians. Washington, August 1943. Roosevelt convenes a meeting on the Manhattan Project. General Groves reports, "The bomb will be ready by June 1945, sir, with 90% probability." Roosevelt looks at the map. The Kursk Bulge is lost. The front line has stabilized along the Dnieper. The Germans have gained a year. Then the president utters the fateful words, "We cannot allow Stalin to take Berlin. The bomb must be used first." Against Germany, London, May 1944. Churchill is furious. "You want to drop an atomic bomb on a civilized European nation. We will become pariahs." But the Americans are no longer listening. Military pilots train at ranges in Nevada, dropping on a point target, the center of Hamburg. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, a positional meat grinder. Like World War I, but with tanks and planes. Rezhev, Stalingrad, Kursk, all merge into a single grey sludge. Soldiers on both sides live in trenches for 6 months, attack, retreat, and each day takes 5,000 lives. And then, August 1945, an American B-29 bomber, specially modified, takes off from an airbase in the Azores. Its target, the center of Dresden, which in our world would burn from conventional bombs only in February 1945, but here stands intact, full of refugees. At 8:15 a.m. local time, a sun that no one expected flashes over the Elbe. A mushroom blazing at an altitude of 11 kilometers. Windows in Leipzig are blown out by the shockwave. Dresden ceases to exist in 43 seconds. Germany surrenders a week later. Not because the Wehrmacht is defeated, but because the new weapon has broken the will of the people. Hitler, hiding in a bunker under the Reich Chancellery, shoots himself 2 months earlier than in real history. What do we get in this world? We get a nuclear precedent directed not against colored Japanese, but against Europeans, against whites. The moral barrier collapses. In 1946, American strategists seriously discuss, why not drop another one on Moscow? Only an acute shortage of plutonium and fear of retaliation, since Soviet intelligence has stolen the blueprints, stops them. The Cold War begins not in 1947, but in September 1945, and it is colder than ever. No Geneva Conventions on the protection of civilians, no word Hiroshima as a symbol of suffering. There is the word Dresden, a symbol that the victor need not be merciful. The Soviet Union, realizing it is a year and a half to 2 years behind, throws all its resources into building a bomb. The Gulag is replenished with German physicists not evacuated by the Americans. In 1947, the first Soviet nuclear device explodes at the Semipalatinsk test site, 1 year earlier than in our world. And the arms race becomes even more insane. The culture of this world is a culture of cynicism. Movies of the 1950s, no naive musicals, only black and white thrillers about atomic apocalypse. People do not believe in tomorrow. And every child knows the war was won not by humanism, but by the bomb. Chapter 3. The General's Conspiracy. The peace that was never signed, July 1944. The third scenario, the quietest and most deceptive. There are no atomic mushrooms, no fall of Paris. Here, there is only the rustle of paper and the clinking of glasses around the negotiating table. But that does not make it any less horrifying. July the 20th, 1944, the Wolf's Lair, East Prussia. Colonel Stauffenberg places a briefcase bomb under the oak table where Hitler is bent over his maps. In real history, the bomb explodes, but the heavy table saves the Führer. Now imagine, what if Stauffenberg had placed the briefcase on the other side? Or if the second detonator, which failed in our world, had gone off? At 12:42, the explosion occurs. Hitler is dead. Not wounded, not concussed, torn to pieces. In Berlin, a coup begins. Generals Beck, Witzelben, and Gordeler seize power. By the evening of July 20th, they control the radio, the Wehrmacht, except for fanatical SS units, and most major cities. Goebbels is arrested. Himmler flees to Denmark, but is captured 3 days later. What do Germany's new rulers do? They are not idiots. They understand the war on two fronts cannot be won. They need an immediate ceasefire. General Beck's radio address, July 22nd, 1944. German people. The criminal regime that plunged us into this adventure has been overthrown. We offer the Allies a ceasefire. Germany is ready to return to its 1939 borders in the west and its 1941 borders in the east. We renounce Austria and the Sudetenland, but we keep East Prussia and our army, and we are prepared to fight Bolshevism together with the Western powers. Now imagine the reaction. Churchill hesitates. He hates the Nazis, but he hates Stalin almost as much. A plan ripens in his mind. Why not let the Germans keep their war machine, but turn it against the Reds? Let them tear each other apart, while we remain the arbiters. Stalin, in the Kremlin, first does not believe it. Then he flies into a rage. He shouts at Molotov, "They want to steal our victory. We have lost 20 million, and now they offer us a return to the borders of 1941? No." But the Western Allies have already stopped their bombing. American ships do not cross the English Channel. Roosevelt, weakened by illness, leans toward a compromise. If we refuse, the Germans will open a front in the West and dig in for a stubborn defense in the East. The war will drag on until 1946. How many more American boys will die? And so the peace is concluded. In September 1944, in neutral Stockholm, the signatures are affixed by General Beck, Germany; Harriman, USA; Eden, Britain; and, reluctantly, Molotov. The USSR gains the Baltic states, Western Ukraine, and Bessarabia, but does not enter Poland, which is restored as a buffer state. And now, a new Europe, 1955. 10 years later, you walk through Berlin. No ruined districts. The war ended quickly. No wall. No American sector. No Soviet sector. Berlin is the capital of the German Reich, without the prefix third, a conservative militaristic dictatorship. Soldiers in grey-green uniforms, but without swastikas, walk the streets. The banners bear the Iron Cross. In Paris, democracy, but feeble. Communists are banned. The economy recovers slowly, because Germany pays no reparations. In London, a mixture of relief and shame. Many feel they have betrayed the Russians, but the government reassures, we save half of Europe from communism. And in the East, the USSR, closed off, suspicious, armed to the teeth. Stalin, living until 1958, without a debilitating war, he is healthier, builds socialism in one, very angry, country. No Warsaw Pact, no allies in Europe, only an army and fear. Now the most terrible thing, what is absent? In this world, there is no Nuremberg tribunal. The generals who, in 1941, gave orders to shoot commissars and Jews are now honored veterans. The professors who performed medical experiments on concentration camp inmates calmly teach at Heidelberg University. The word Holocaust remains an obscure term. 6 million Jews are merely a footnote in textbooks. Excesses occurred during the war. There is no West Germany that came to democracy through pain and repentance. There is a Germany that sees itself not as defeated, but as having saved Europe from Bolshevism. And its soldiers stand on the border with Poland, aiming their newest V3 rockets. In 1962, a Caribbean crisis will erupt, only not over Cuba, but over West Berlin. And no one knows how it will end. Because the Germans have their own atomic weapons, they developed them by 1957 with the help of French and Swedish physicists. A tripolar world, the USA, the USSR, Germany. 3 nuclear giants. 3 ideologies. And no unifying fear of the past, because the past has not been condemned, it has been swept under the rug. Epilogue. Why our reality is a miracle. Expanded version. We are back in our room. On the wall, the old clock with a pendulum that has just finished its mad race through parallel universes. The hands trembled and fell into place. All that remains is the familiar tick-tock, boring, monotonous, the most beautiful sound in the world. Outside the window, our world. Imperfect, cruel, often bloody. a world in which injustice and pain happen every day. And yet it stands on a foundation we're used to not noticing, just as we don't notice air or gravity. Let us look at this foundation. Gaze at it as if seeing it for the first time. The first pillar of our miracle, the complete, not conditional, defeat of evil. In our reality, the Germans lost totally. Not with honor, not with a right to their own truth, not in a draw. Their ideology was not merely defeated on the battlefield, it was publicly dissected, held up to universal ridicule and condemnation at Nuremberg. Denazification, however half-hearted and belated in its details, succeeded in the main thing. The poisonous core was extracted from the body of the nation. And today, when a German chancellor travels to Israel and asks for forgiveness, he does so neither out of hypocrisy nor fear. He does so because those who lost back then lost forever. This is the fruit of that defeat which was absolute, not compromise. In the three worlds we visited today, such a healing would not have happened. There, the virus would have remained in the blood. The second pillar, the horror that stopped humanity, fell not upon the others. In our world, the atomic bombs fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is monstrous, but precisely because the victims were the Japanese, distant, with a different skin color, a different culture, the world shuddered with pure, unalloyed civilizational nausea. There was no excuse if they started it, no dismissal based on racial inferiority. There was only naked, universal terror before a force capable of incinerating a city in a minute. And this terror, paradoxically, became a circuit breaker. It stopped World War III halfway to its birth. But imagine for a moment, what if the same bomb had been used against the Germans, Europeans, white people, in whose culture we recognize ourselves? Horror would have instantly mixed with cynicism. Nuances would have appeared. But did you see what they did in the camps? They deserved it. It was a military necessity. And that nuance would have become a wormhole. The threshold for using nuclear weapons would have been lower. And that means sooner or later they would have been used again. And again. And today, most likely, we would not be reading this text. The third pillar, Europe did not become the hostage of a single victor. In our world, the Allies landed in Normandy in time. Not earlier, which would have been suicide, not later, when the USSR, bleeding but victorious, would have dictated terms from Lisbon to the Urals. In time, this word here means at the last possible moment of history. The USSR did not choke alone. A hand was reached out to it at the very moment when its lungs were already filling with water. Therefore, Europe did not become entirely Soviet. Therefore, the Soviet Union, for all its monstrous losses, 27 million, not a number, but an abyss, did not crush the continent with its heavy, weary, paranoid weight. Therefore, the Berlin Wall eventually fell, rather than standing for another 100 years. Therefore, Poland, the Czech Republic, Hungary today are not the outskirts of an empire, but members of a common home. And let that home creak, let the neighbors quarrel, it is still neither ruins nor a barracks. Three shadows, three alternatives. Each of the three worlds we walk through today is a world with less freedom. But it is not only about freedom. It is about the quality of the air. In the first world, where Hitler won, the air would smell of fear and informing. In the second, where he did not lose but froze the war, of cynicism and eternal lies. In the third, where the atom fell on Europe, of ash and weary cruelty. In all three, violence against memory would have been legalized. In all three, the phrase, "What if we had acted differently?" would have been a state crime. In all three, children would learn not history, but a justifying document. And here is what I want to say. The next time someone casually tosses out, "What if Hitler had one?" It doesn't matter whether he won or simply did not lose. It doesn't matter whether he wore the Führer's uniform or his grandchildren ruled from the shadows. Something else matters. We live in the one timeline out of an infinite number of possibilities where his ideas were not just crushed on the battlefield. They were publicly executed, before the whole world, with witnesses, entered into the record. And this is the most precious thing humanity can possess. Not wealth, not technology, not power, but the ability to say, "This was evil, and we called that evil by its name." And behind that acknowledgement stands everything else: freedom of speech, the right to be wrong, and the hope that our children will never hear the words "final solution" except from textbooks. In lieu of an afterword. Thank you for walking this path with us. Together, we have looked through the keyhole of history to where the world is bursting at the seams. And we have seen that our world, our only one, imperfect, contentious, sometimes detestable, is in fact a fragile miracle. It rests on three pillars that could have collapsed 1,000 times, but did not. Guard history, but not as a museum exhibit under glass, gathering dust and not interfering with life. Guard it as a living fabric, one that has already torn in millions of parallel universes, but in this one, held. By pure chance, by absurd luck, by a confluence of circumstances that we call our life. Do not let it tear again. On this side now,